every dime. No nickels I can rub, no pennies I can find. But I don't want for nothing, my taste ain't too refined. No, I ain't got no troubles on my mind.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Driftin and Driftin. Reverend Billy Wirtz here, and it's my absolute pleasure tonight to welcome my guest, Miss Eden Brent. Eden, how you doing?
Feel good, feeling good. Just
Eden
got my vaccine yesterday.
Just got what? Oh, cool.
Got my COVID vaccine yesterday. So, a lot of people have complained that they had a soreness or, I can tell I got a shot, but that happens if I have penicillin or anything. So I'm feeling like a champion.
Well, that's great. I'm on my way to my second one as well. And hopefully people getting vaccinated and all that will open the situation back up for us all a little bit here.
Right. So, I think so. Yeah.
Well, let me tell the folks a little bit about you. You're a musician, a composer, an absolutely terrific entertainer. And I love your music. The only thing I don't love is having to follow you in the piano bar. So, it's a real honor to have you here. Let's roll it back. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how old you were when you started with music?
I always loved music and played as a little bitty toddler even. I'd crawl up on the piano and try to play. And my grandmother taught me how to play, middle C and just little simple tunes. So I was playing this as a youngster. And then, as a matter of fact, I have a older sister and an older brother, and both of them were taking piano lessons as I was coming along. And I was listening to what they were doing and getting up on the piano. And of course, it was just little simple things, but I was kind of picking out some of their piano tunes. And my parents got their piano teacher to agree to teach me. She didn't want to take me because I was only about 5 years old, I think. And I think normally they try to teach them a little later than that. So anyway, I always loved to play. And I can remember in elementary school, there was a local production of The Sound of Music. And I got a little bit part just in the chorus. And I think, and I had one line in that, doe, a deer, a female deer, that's, and, just having that experience of performing, I think, hooked me at an early age. So I played forever. And, but really, growing up, listened to a lot of rock music. I was born in the 60s. So, and I had an older brother and sister. So I listened to a lot of very good rock and roll music. And some good songwriters too. But really who taught me how to play is the fella sitting behind me, Boogaloo.
Yeah, we definitely want to talk about that in a minute. My next question is, how old were you the first time you got somebody put money in your hand for you to play?
I think, I did a lot of talent shows and stuff, and all of that was free. And I did some nursing homes, as a youngster, and that was just volunteer, just learning how to do stuff. I think really probably the first time I ever got any money was when one summer, maybe in the mid 80s, one summer, Boogaloo went from Greenville, where we live, up here in the Mississippi Delta, down to the capital, Jackson, Mississippi, and took a job down there for the whole summer. And I took his happy hour lounge gig at the C&G Lounge here in town. And they were paying me for the happy hour. They were paying me half of what they paid Boogaloo, which was probably still too much.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. So
sure.
I think that was probably it. I believe I got paid $30.
All right. Okay. Now you went to school. Did you go to North Texas State?
I did.
Okay. And you studied music there?
Yeah. I wanted to go to Berkeley in Boston, but I was 17 and I don't know. My mother thought that was too far for a young Delta Belle, Southern Belle. So, she's the one that found the jazz school out in Texas. And actually, it worked out. I mean, every little thing you do puts your life on a certain kind of trajectory. So if I'd have gone to Berkeley, I'm sure that different things would have happened, and probably would have been less likely to have that time that I spent under Boogaloo's tutoring, because being in Texas, I was close enough to drive back and forth some, and I think that's probably why that relationship was able to blossom as much as it did. So it worked out real good. That's how I wound up out there. And I studied jazz for 3 years, and then I wound up finishing in music theory. Yeah.
So it was a positive, ultimately it was a good positive experience and added kind of to the big picture.
It was, well, yeah, I was an utter failure there because my background was not solid enough. That's such a North Texas is a very well-renowned jazz school. And so an awful lot of the players who come there have, they're ready to go out and gig already. They don't really need to go to school. They're just honing an already probably fairly advanced craft.
Right.
So I kind of got lost in the shuffle there, which is why I wound up finishing in music theory. I found I had a acclamation towards music theory. I had my ear was pretty good, and so I didn't have any much trouble writing, transcribing stuff and that. But just the playing, I've often said that North Texas sort of taught me how to think, and Boogaloo's the one that taught me how to play. He really sort of put into my hands what they had put into my mind. I prefer them. I'm glad I had both educations, but I say I prefer the education with Boogaloo. It was a hell of a lot more fun.
So tell us,
yeah.
Every time I read about you or I talk to you, it seems like all roads lead back to Boogaloo. So tell me about that relationship. Tell us how that evolved. And I mean, it sounds like a wonderful, wonderful experience and life-changing, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like as a teenager, he would be playing everywhere, like the C&G Lounge, which was a restaurant bar. Or, if somebody got married, he played my sister's wedding reception. When my dad had a birthday party, Boogaloo was over playing, so I got to know him that way. And then I don't think I ever considered, I was going to the blues festival and stuff, and certainly Boogaloo was playing at the blues festival, even though Boogaloo really was he's from that old school era, born in 1918. So he's from that old school era where really piano players kind of did just about everything. And so jazz was really big in the 40s when he was in his prime, and he was living in Detroit at the time. And then he later did some work for Berry Gordy and stuff. But anyway, so I knew of Boogaloo, and of course, but it wasn't really until I got to North Texas and started learning about music that it even occurred to me, wow, this is somebody who's living in my town who is really such a great resource. It just wouldn't have occurred to me. I guess it never occurred to me that he would be interested in teaching me until I had maybe been to some master classes at school and met some other older, more experienced players. And I don't know, plus I was just in love with his play. Yeah, so, and he liked me too. We had a friendship, so we celebrated birthdays together and went out partying a few times too many. Well, we had a relationship beyond just the teacher-student, but that's where it all started.
So how many years did you actually study? Did you actually study with him?
Yeah. I was taking lessons with him. I'd go during the time that I was back and forth to college. I would, during the summer and at Christmas time and stuff, I'd run over to his house and pick him up and bring him out to the house, and he'd show me some stuff for a couple hours, and I'd give him, I don't know, $30 or $40 or whatever at the time, So then that went on until maybe I got out of college, and then we really did have more of a friendship and kind of a little performing duo, and I kind of operated as his manager and stuff, and we hung out together till he died, which was in 2002. And
Wow.
I'm sure we would still be together now, except that he just couldn't live that long.
Sure.
He's
Yeah.
over 100 now.
What did he give you along with playing? Was he also good for worldly advice about the music business and just how to conduct yourself in general?
I mean, I think he sort of taught me those sort of things by example more than, you know, I mean, he didn't give me a lot of advice really, except about what to play or not to play.
Right.
Mainly he just showed me stuff, but yeah, you know, like he would get dressed up to go to the post office, and at the time I was kind of a hippie, you know, I was really, I've
Right.
always had long hair, and but you know, I mean, Boogaloo, I guess I don't know what constitutes a hippie, but I can remember one time getting in the car and we were on our way to Jackson to a gig, and I went, coming out of the store, I had pumped the gas and went and paid for the gas and came back to the car with a couple of beers. And I said, "Ooh, Boogaloo, look what I got." Because boy, we're really going to be getting away with something. We're driving out to Jackson with a beer. He reached in his breast pocket and he said, "Huh, look what I got." And he had a little nickel bag of weed.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's great. That's
he
great.
he was always going to be one step ahead of me for
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had some great stories too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, you know, he didn't give me a lot of advice about how to be, except just by setting such a great example. You know, the way the way he treated people, the way he carried himself, and the way he lived his life was absolutely full of joy.
Right,
You know?
right. So how about your own career? When did you decide, okay, I'm enjoying doing this? And let me ask you this. If you weren't doing music, what would you be doing?
Shoot,
Were
I
there
don't know.
any other career?
English teacher. I don't know if I think I always wanted to play music. I mean, I can't remember a time when I didn't want to play music. I wasn't sure that I would be a blues musician. I mean, when I was in high school, I probably thought I was going to be a rock star, you know, like that band Heart and you know,
Sure.
or a songwriter or whatever. And I am that. So yeah, I can't imagine. I was always going to do something with music, probably, even if it was tuned pianos. I don't know.
Right. What were a couple of the blues records that made you go, "Oh, I want to play like that. I want to do that"?
Well, no, you know, Boogaloo is the one who did that, because you know, mainly, I probably have more jazz records than blues records, really.
Oh,
but
okay.
you know, but I'd say most of my favorite blues records are by people, you know, kind of that I grew up listening to from around here, you know, like you know, the Malaco stuff, you know.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Dorothy Moore and ZZ Hill and you know, of course I love B.B. King, because he used to come do his homecoming concert every year in Indianola, and I mean, and you know, it'd be like hanging out with Boogaloo. I mean, hanging out with BB at the Club Ebony, where he'd come to every year, is something similar to like being on the Blues Cruise, because there is this really great blues star that you love, and he's right there, you know. So it was real cool being here and kind of what I think would be sort of the rebirth of the rediscovery of blues music, you know, up through 70s and 80s and stuff. Yeah.
Right. When did you start going full time?
What do you mean, for music?
Playing full time? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of always did that. There was a time that I worked as a commodities broker in training.
How long did that last? Yeah.
That lasted about 3 months, but yeah, that lasted not very long. Yeah, there was a couple of things. Firstly, I didn't really understand. It didn't make any sense to me to buy 187,000 pounds of pork bellies that I never planned to take delivery of. That was weird enough. And then when selling something short, so now I'm going to sell 187,000 pounds of pork bellies that I don't even have. That was way out. I mean, I just couldn't deal with the logistics, but it just didn't. None of it made any sense. Music is accessible, and that really was just way out there. I really didn't like it. So I had to get out of there.
was there a point at which you were out there and you're not sure, and then something happened that you went, hey, I can do this. This is going to work?
Well, I mean, I think to some extent, it's always been a bit of a struggle. I mean, like every January, I've always worried, oh my God, am I going to be able to make a living this year? You know, because January that's when you look at the year and you're thinking, oh my God, I don't have enough gigs on the calendar. I mean, I think every musician probably goes through some bit of angst at the first of the year, end of the last year and first of the year, where you're looking ahead and thinking, anyhow, I've been full-time ever since I started, sort of, but by that, I'm saying that, I didn't really work. I didn't work that much because there wasn't that much work to be had really in the Mississippi Delta, other than the bars that used to be here where you had happy hour sessions, there's not any place anymore that has music 7 days a week. Even the casinos aren't doing that. I mean, even before the pandemic, they weren't having 7 days a week anymore. But when the casinos first came in to Mississippi, that's where I got a lot of work experience, because it was every day, and hours and hours playing there. So I've always done it full time, but fortunately while my family, particularly my mother, when my parents were born into reasonably modest means, my grandfather started a river business, towboats and barges and hauling freight on the Mississippi River, that was wildly successful. And so, my college was paid for, and it offered me the opportunity to pretty much be fairly lazy and not have a terribly strict work ethic. So, which is bad, kind of. I would have accomplished more had I had less, I think. But anyway, while it's always been full time, that doesn't mean to say that I have always had a lot of work, because there's been lots of times that I didn't, but I didn't go hungry because my dad wouldn't let that happen.
So we know the business takes us to some strange places. Let's talk heaven and hell gigs. When you look back and you're riding down the road and you're thinking about one of those gigs that just makes you tingle just to remember it, what's one of your heaven gigs that you always look back on it and go, God, that was so cool?
Oh gosh. Well, there's quite a few. I mean, I'd say there's magical gigs like that are sprinkled throughout my career and my life. A lot of times it'll be just something like just a jam on the Blues Cruise, even, where it just starts to feel so good because everybody's relaxed. Nobody's trying to be anything in particular. Everybody's just doing their part and having fun. And there's been particularly some late night things where a lot is liable to happen late night on the boat. There's certain places that I really love every time I go, like Teddy's Juke Joint. If I'm at Teddy's Juke Joint in Zachary, Louisiana, it doesn't matter if there's a full house or just a few people, I'm going to enjoy that experience because I love that place so much. And then, there's certainly some players that I've worked with that I've enjoyed a whole lot. Like for a while there, when I was hitting it pretty heavy, 3 or 4 years ago, when I was really working very hard, I was working with David Berard, a bass player out of New Orleans that I just love, and a drummer from Colorado named Bobby Walker. We were rolling around and having a lot of fun together. And some of the gigs we did there I remember playing a gig in, I think it's Pomeroy, Ohio, on the bank of the Ohio River there, and looking up at the stars and
yeah,
just feeling so good. The music is there and you're on the river. I love places by the river because
sure.
I understand that, man.
Yeah. So on the backside of it, when you're at night and you go and you wake up and it's a night and there's a hell gig somewhere in there that you tell me a hell gig story.
Yeah. No, there's not that much of that. I mean, truly, the playing is the joy. I mean, I can remember back when I was still just trying to get some experience. I can remember doing a corporate gig where it was obvious that, the kind of thing that I'm able to do, which is, a pretty narrow window of stuff. I'm not a virtuoso that can play everything. I'm not a session player. I'm not a studio musician. So, I mean, if you want me to be on your album, you better want me to do me.
Right.
Because I don't do a lot of other people. So, I'm limited in that way. And anyway, so I was playing this gig and this dude, not the dude who hired me, but this dude who's one of the employees of the corporate event. I mean, he's, who the party's for. He walks over to the lady who did hire me and well within earshot of me. Well, he'd already come over to me and said, play something we can dance to. And I said, like what? I mean, I do know a lot of songs. I can play some country songs. It might not sound country enough for him.
Right.
But my dad is a big Hank Williams fan, and I know a lot of Hank Williams, for example.
Yeah,
I know some Patsy Cline. Anyhow, and he goes over to that lady and says, hot damn, you hired her. You get over there and show her how to play something we can dance to. So that was a nightmare gig. I mean, when you're entertaining or when you're performing for people, the last thing you want to do is be a disappointment. And,
right.
And so, a good gig is when you're giving the people what they want.
Sure.
Kinda. So,
that's
about the only time I can remember that it was a nightmare.
That's not so bad. That's not so bad. We play, festivals, we play clubs, we play juke joints, and then there's the blues cruise, which is a world and a reality unto itself. And you've done really, really well on the cruise. Tell us about your experience with the cruise, how it started and what it is that makes it such a special and unique type of thing.
Well, in 2006, I went up to Memphis and I won the solo division of the International Blues Challenge. And part of my reward or award, part of my winnings was the opportunity to perform on the legendary Rhythm and Blues Cruise. And it just so happened that that particular year was that particular year was the very first West Coast cruise, the very first one that was sailing out of San Diego on a smaller ship that didn't accommodate quite so many people. So it was the October cruise, I guess, or the November cruise, the fall cruise that I played, and that was my first experience. And man, just like getting acquainted with the Blues Foundation through going up there to the International Blues Challenge, I didn't really realize, I didn't connect the Blues Foundation to the Handy Awards prior to that. I didn't know. I thought, man, the Handy Awards, that's cool. But I didn't, I don't know why. I guess because it's right up the road. I'm here in Greenville, and it's 2.5 hours drive to Memphis, that I didn't realize the connection there. And so, those doors opening to these people who are just so welcoming is the same experience, and likely because it's a lot of the same fans. I mean, you get the Blues Foundation members are also blues cruisers, and so just being on board there, where it even from the very first time I sailed, people treated me like family. That just was the coolest thing, and plus it's just so much damn fun. I mean, when am I ever gonna have the spare cash to go take a cruise? How about
right.
Never, man? I don't. I make a little money here and there, but dang, I don't make that much to buy myself a vacation like that. So,
sure,
man, it's such a treat to have the experience to be able to work, and for working for people who seem to really love me, and just be so warm and welcoming, and then also to have be able to kick back, put my feet in the sand for a few minutes. I just love it.
Yeah.
And all the playing too,
Absolutely. And I mean, for us piano players and those of us that do what we do, sometimes it can be a challenge to get a crowd to be quiet, to listen to you, or to grab a whole crowd's attention. And on the cruise, man, the minute you start playing in that lounge, they start listening. I mean, they get a little chatty in there, but they're there, they're engaged, they're locked in, and man, it just, it's that, like you talk about, it's that zone where you feel like you're floating, and
right.
Man, it's wonderful.
Billy, Reverend, we are floating.
Yeah.
When we're on the cruise.
Thank you for that. Duh. Yeah.
Goodness.
So tell me, you do you do a lot of the jams there too as well?
There's always jams going on in the piano bar. I don't do so much of the back deck jam.
Right.
Here and there, but quite often I'll be in the piano bar when the deck jam is going on.
Yeah.
So I haven't done quite as many of those, but yeah.
Okay.
But I love the opportunity to get together with other folks, because like I was saying, I know how to do this thing right here, and then if somebody brings their thing that they do, and then sometimes it makes my little thing a little bit bigger.
Sure.
It makes my little snowball grow. So yeah, I sort of like I mean, that's how I've grown as a musician, is having the opportunity to work with other people. And so if I'm playing with and there's another I love playing with David out of New Orleans, but there's another bass player out of Colorado that I love to work with, Andy Irvine. I'm playing with Andy.
Right.
And that sounds a little different. I mean, he'll take the tune I'm playing, or that I've always played, and help me to grow it to yet another step, another level. And then, my husband, Bob, he plays bass too. So, yeah, everybody that I have known and all the experiences on the Blues Cruise have helped me to grow as a musician, for sure.
Well, it's been an interesting last 12 months. And what have you done during the off time, and where are you hopefully heading now that things are beginning to open up a little bit?
Right. I've had a few little things.
Did you do any online stuff?
What I've been doing, I learned to cook. I have never really cooked in my whole life.
Oh, that's good.
I sort of started learning a little bit of cooking when a few years ago, when my dad got cancer. Now, my dad's doing good now, but it's partially due to the fact that I learned how to make pancakes while he was going on chemotherapy. So I could do a few little things, but I cooked gumbo, which is pretty complicated, kind of. It's got a lot of ingredients. It takes a very long time to get it right. And I'm learning to make the heck out of some cornbread now. Several years ago, Roger had asked me if I wanted to do a cooking demonstration. And I said, I better not. I don't know how to do anything. And I don't want to make anybody sick. But now if he asks, I'll say, heck yeah, man. I can make some turnip greens or some cornbread. I can make the heck out of some good crispy cornbread and crispy on the outside and so moist and tasty on the inside. So I cooked. I was taking care of I had a 17-year-old yellow lab who just passed away about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But she was 17. So I was actually almost grateful to have the time to spend with her because she'd gotten to a point where I was scared to leave her anywhere.
Yeah.
So, I've been reading some.
What you been reading?
Well, I'm reading right now a novel about a fellow named Arthur Less, and it's really, really, really funny. So I'm having fun with that. Let's see. I've been hanging out with my family, my dad, and I hadn't done that much stuff, but I don't mind. I would like to go back to work, and I am really excited that I've got a gig day after tomorrow. But I'm being careful, and I've been staying the course.
Right. Great.
Because I want us to be where we can get back together again. And
right on. Yeah, sure. So this was a question I told you I was going to ask you. At the end of all of this, you've had a great career. I mean, wow, just reading the accolades and what you've already done and what you've got still to go. And you're sitting on the front porch watching the sunset. What are you going to look back on and think and see as maybe one of your greatest accomplishments? What are you going to be proudest of?
I thought about it really. And I don't think I've done it yet. I don't believe I've done that yet. I don't know what it's going to be. So I'm not sure. I've done a lot of things, but I'm not too much of a prideful person anyhow. To me, life is more about the pursuit of happiness. The desire for something is the pursuing of something greater than what I know now seems to be the greatest joy. So I'm gonna try to keep reaching for the stars, and that's the way I feel. I don't know that I'll ever feel like I've reached the pinnacle.
Okay.
or that great. It's time to look back. I mean, even if I'm sitting on the front porch in my rocking chair, I think I'll probably still be thinking that there's something else I got better to go do.
Yeah.
I think being married now is a good thing, and I'm glad about that. And I met my husband Bob on the Blues Cruise, so that's cool.
Yeah. Well, that's just absolutely great. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. No,
that's it. I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been absolutely wonderful and fascinating. Any final thoughts? This is you got the floor.
No, you want me to play a song now?
You want to play a little bit? I'd love to hear you play. Absolutely.
Is it Women's History Month or is it Women's Day or what's going on right now? Do you know? What's happening?
Well, it was the International Day of the Woman earlier this week, and I believe their history is up. But with what we do, that's kind of a constant. There never needs to be sort of a special, occasion for it. One of the things that I've always really admired about what you do is that you have this one foot in the classic blues style and with your own, and yet you make the two of them work together real well, and you do remind me of some of those great people like Bessie and Memphis Minnie and that kind of things that are,
well, how about some Sippy Wallace right now?
Sippy Wallace would be absolutely wonderful.
Just yeah, you know, I like to celebrate everybody, including the women folk, and here is a little good advice for all the women folk. Women, be wise, keep your mouth shut, don't advertise your man. Don't you never go around gossiping about what that good man really can do for you. Oh, well, in these days, you know they ain't true blue. Reverend Billy, I tell you, they laugh in your face and they steal that good man from you, so be wise. Keep your mouth shut. Don't advertise your man. Don't be no fool. Oh, don't advertise your man. Women, be wise. Keep your mouth shut. Don't advertise your man. Don't you never go around gossiping about what that good man really can do for you. Oh, women these days ain't no good, girl. They think they got to have every man living in your neighborhood, so be wise. Keep your mouth shut. Don't advertise your man. Don't be no fool. Don't advertise your man. Don't be no fool. Don't advertise your man.
Great. That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Man, thanks a lot for having me. It's been a real joy. Great to have an occasion to get dressed up with no place to go. Thank you so much. Yeah,
thanks, friends. This is Reverend Billy Wirtz saying thank you so much on behalf of myself and Driftin. Make sure and check out our podcast where you'll get to hear some of the music we've been talking about. Until the next time, Eden, thank you so very much. You folks stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time around on Driftin. Good night, everybody.